The Roy Orbison mystery is solved in Bad. Roy Kelton Orbison was born in Vernon, Texas, on April 23, 1936. Orbison's childhood was rough and determined. Roy, a working-class child from the Great Depression, received his first guitar at 6 and performed on local radio by 8. Roy was inspired by his parents to pursue his passion and found peace and strength in music, which allowed him to convey emotions that were frequently unspoken. Hank Williams, Bing Crosby, and Southern gospel blues influenced him early on. Orbison formed the Wink Westerners, his first band, in high school after moving with his family to Wink, Texas. These early years developed his songwriting and performance presence, establishing the framework for a pioneering career. In the late 1950s, Orbison signed with Memphis Sun Records, which introduced Elvis Presley, Johnny Cash, and Jerry Lee Lewis. After a few unsuccessful rockabilly singles, he discovered his voice, both physically and artistically, on Monument Records in the early 1960s. Orbison combined rock, pop, classical, and country with his 3-octave vocal range under producer Fred Foster. His 1960 song Only the Lonely launched a sequence of emotionally intense ballads that became his signature. Crying, Running Scared, In Dreams, and it's overachieved a level of romantic anguish and vulnerability unrivaled in modern music. Oh Pretty Woman, 1964, his most famous song, combined heartbreak and arrogance, establishing his musical pioneership and global fame. Roy Orbison was known for his powerful voice and sincere words. Rock and roll celebrated carefree youth and rebellion, but Orbison sung of lost love, loneliness, and broken dreams. His tunes were popular worldwide, who thought his music reflected their losses and hopes. His mystique was enhanced by his black, expressionless countenance behind dark spectacles, which earned him the nickname the Caruso of rock or the Big O. Although his fame declined in the 1970s, Orbison never ceased recording and performing. The 1980s saw a career revival, with a new generation of musicians claiming him as an influence. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and the Songwriters Hall of Fame in 1987, with Bruce Springsteen and Bob Dylan calling him one of the best voices ever. Orbison returned to the studio in the same decade and released a touching duet with Emmylou Harris, That Lovin' You Feelin' Again. Critics and spectators lauded the song's gorgeous harmonies and heartfelt delivery. In 1981, Orbison won a Grammy for Best Country Performance by a duet or group with voice, highlighting his later career and solidifying his place in American music. The award was significant because it showed his effective crossing into contemporary genres while maintaining his heartbreaking romanticism. In the late 1980s, Orbison joined the Traveling Wilburys, one of rock music's most successful supergroups, boosting his revival. This unexpected and star-studded collaboration featured Orbison, Tom Petty, Bob Dylan, George Harrison, and Jeff Lynne. The band started accidentally when the musicians recorded a B-side for Harrison and discovered their wonderful chemistry. Orbison joined the group as Lefty Wilbury, a pun on his musical idol Lefty Frizzell. Their 1988 first album, Traveling Wilburys Volume 1, received excellent reviews and revived Orbison's global status. His harmonies and lyrics gave the band's sound depth and warmth, and his vocal performance on Handle with Care showcased his amazing talent. That year, Orbison was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for his many achievements to music. Bruce Springsteen, who had often acknowledged Orbison as one of his greatest influences, called the singer's voice the voice of heartbreak in his acceptance speech. The accolade recognized Orbison's impact on rock and pop music and established him as one of its most emotionally moving and original singers. During his final years, Orbison was at the height of fame despite his personal and professional struggles. After his death in December 1988, Orbison's legacy lived on. For his final studio album, Mystery Girl, a deluxe edition was published in 2014 to celebrate its 25th anniversary. A never-before-heard demo called The Way Is Love was powerful and profound. This song was extremely touching because Orbison's kids Wesley, Roy Jr., and Alex used their father's vocal recording to finish it. The song was polished and hauntingly beautiful with help from producer John Carter Cash and Jeff Lynne, connecting father and son, legacy and future. The Way Is Love provided fans a new look at Orbison's work and reminded them of his timeless melodies. Roy Orbison married 16-year-old Claudette Frady, a stunningly attractive girl, in 1957, aged 21. They fell in love instantly, despite their age gap and the hardships of a rising career. Roy drew inspiration from Claudette in numerous of his works. Their love was passionate and turbulent, like many young love stories. However, they started a life together and had three sons: Roy Dwayne, born in 1958, Anthony King, born in 1962, and Wesley, born in 1965. Roy loved his family and was a proud parent, even if his career took him on tours and recordings. In June 1966, Claudette died in a motorcycle accident in Gallatin, Tennessee, shocking the Orbison family. Roy was devastated by her abrupt death after reconciling with her. Orbison was deeply affected by Claudette's death personally and creatively. He was distraught by his wife's death and lost the stability he had built at home throughout his rise to stardom. His mournful ballad Claudette, originally written to honor her vivacity and beauty, became a somber memorial to her passing. Fate struck again 2 years later, adding to the agony. Roy's two oldest sons, Roy Dwayne and Anthony King, died in a Hendersonville, Tennessee house fire in September 1968 while Roy was playing in England. The property burned down, but Roy's youngest son Wesley escaped since he was staying with his grandparents. But losing his other two children was virtually terrible. The heartbreak was unbearable. Roy Orbison, known for his melancholy ballads, now lived his grief. In mourning, he withdrew from the public view to process the two tragedies that had broken his family. Roy Orbison met Barbara Jacobs, a German music entrepreneur, in the UK, starting a new chapter despite his loss. Roy felt instantly healed by their connection. His personal life changed after he married on March 25, 1969. He found stability and comfort in Barbara. She supported him emotionally and helped him manage his job, especially later on. While his career revived in the 1980s, they maintained a loving and respectful relationship. Roy and Barbara had two sons, Roy Kelton Orbison Jr., born in 1970, who followed in his father's music career, and Alexander Alex Orbison, born in 1975, who helped preserve and promote his father's legacy after his death. Barb stayed with Roy until his 1988 death. After his death, she managed his estate, released posthumous music, and made sure the world never forgot the man with the dark sunglasses and operatic voice. Love, grief, resilience, and legacy characterized Roy Orbison's personal life despite all the challenges. Like his music, his tale is dramatic and unforgettable. Roy Orbison, one of rock and roll's most mysterious and haunting voices, has baffled listeners for decades with his bizarre inconsistencies, the catastrophes that followed him, and his ghostly presence despite fame. Orbison appeared wounded with his jet black hair, dark sunglasses worn on stage, and deep emotional vulnerability in his voice that traveled across octaves. The mystery of his persona, personal troubles, and music's great sadness persisted. For years, people wondered what was behind the renowned image: personal loss, artistic sensibility, or something darker. After years of speculation, investigative biographies, recovered letters, and conversations with his closest friends, the veil has been lifted. The truth has been upsetting rather than revealing closure. It doesn't suit the romanticized image of the lovely balladeer. Why Orbison's life was plagued by sadness, and why his music often seemed to foreshadow it, is the puzzle. Many attribute this to coincidence or the tortured artist myth. According to people close to Orbison, including his early management team and some alienated family members, he suffered from acute, untreated psychological trauma from boyhood. He covered and turned his trauma into art while it silently engulfed him. Most troubling, recent research and interviews reveal that his otherworldly voice may have cost him dearly. To fix his long-standing breathing problem, Orbison had many experimental sinus surgeries as a teenager, according to his medical papers. In a time when medical ethics were hazy, these procedures may have transformed his vocal structure, giving him the distinctive, nearly operatic range that made him renowned. He left the world some of the most emotionally moving songs, like Crying and Just the Lonely, but he also suffered chronic pain, migraines, and lasting damage that may have led to his reclusiveness. The mystery is heightened by Roy's almost Shakespearean personal tragedy. A tragic 1966 motorbike accident killed his first wife Claudette. 2 years later, a fire at his Hendersonville, Tennessee, home killed two of his young sons while he was on tour. Fans praised Orbison's stoicism and ability to keep working after such a terrible loss. However, his partially disclosed private notebooks reveal a darker picture. He was emotionally broken, reliant on prescription drugs, and even considered quitting music or killing himself. Perhaps most sobering is the fact that Orbison's late 1980s resurgence, right before his 1988 death, was not a successful return to happiness. He returned to the spotlight with the Traveling Wilburys and Mystery Girl, but friends claim he was exhausted, had untreated heart ailments, and suffered long-term stress and loss. Orbison knew he was on borrowed time despite his beaming public appearances and fresh critical accolades. He died of a heart attack aged 52, shocking the globe. However, those who knew him saw it as the terrible end to a slow-moving life. Roy Orbison's riddle is answered. Reality differs from comforting legends. The story of a man who offered the world his soul and music while his soul broke. Soaring voice, gloomy eyes behind sunglasses, and lyrics of love and sorrow weren't merely creative choices. Only now are those decades-old screams for rescue understood.